Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to communicate with the devil. Alright, let's go ahead and jump right into Late Night with the Devil. And to kick things off right away, to all the people who haven't seen this movie yet, don't watch the trailers. Don't read the synopsis. Don't even look at the poster of this film. Just go in completely blind, knowing nothing, and you will enjoy this movie so much more. Because Late Night with the Devil is not what you expect. Like, this feels like a film that would have came out in the 70s, which is perfect because the film is based in 1977. Because, like, this is the kind of film that, you know, you would hear from your friend about how wickedly disgusting and gruesome and fucked up it is. You know, he ripped out his intestines. You know, this is that kind of film that would be in the forbidden area of horror. And you would have only heard about it from your friends or in a Fangoria magazine, and it would have been one of those films that, you know, that you would have to dare one of your friends to, you know, to sit through this kind of movie. Because if this film came out in the 70s, 80s era, like, this film would have been very controversial because it's coming out around the time as The Exorcist and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which back then, you know, they were considered very intense movies, and, you know, some might say they still are. Some of the most scariest and intense movies of the horror genre. You know, people left those movies, you know, vomiting, and left them, you know, sick to their stomach. And, you know, and A Nightmare on Elm Street, you know, made people, you know, never sleep again. Friday the 13th made, you know, made horny teenagers never go to camp again. And so, you know, there was this, you know, forbidden era of Hollywood that people would not speak about. And you could only hear it from the people who saw it. Like, they may have got like a videotape of it, and like, so, you know, yeah, you know, this film would have fitted perfectly, you know, in that era. Which, that's the first thing I do want to say about this movie, is the 70s look of this movie, going down to the most minute details with the film grain, the sound design, the look, the clothing, even going as far as the crowd laughing. Like, remember when that was a thing in radio shows? So just like everything in this film is perfect. Like, you know, when you're in a theater watching this, like, you are back in history. You are back in the 70s watching this movie. There's no 2024, there's no 2023. That hasn't happened yet. When you're watching this movie, you're so convinced that you're in the 70s watching this movie for the first time. Like you get so hypnotized and immersed into this film that you are actually convinced in your head that, you know, that you are back in time. So that, you know, that's one thing I love about this movie. And even the way the characters talk and communicate, it's like, it's everything that us horror fans love about not only 70s horror films, but just love about that 70s era. Like, for people who grew up in the 70s and 80s, there's, I think, going to be a lot in this movie that you will recognize, maybe even some slurs are being said, you know, that you will get a hit at. So, yeah, like, the 70s look to this film, absolutely perfect. And now, the big topic I did want to talk about here is the characters. Like, this is technically considered a horror film. But to me, what this film really is at its core is this is an in-depth analysis on a really sick human being. This is a look inside the business industry at how far studio executives can take you and what they force you to do, both on screen and behind the scenes. And I think it gives a very truthful look into that industry as to what the actor's attitude is on screen, in front of an audience and in front of a camera and a live broadcast around the nation, to how he talks to his cast and to the executives behind the scenes. And, you know, this film, while there's not a whole lot of characterization given to this guy, there's a very quick opening sequence that narrates his life up until this point. And basically what this dives into is, you know, is the life of a rock star, of living the life of someone famous. That, you know, that his wife died of lung cancer, who she was a non-smoker, and then going to paparazzi, taking, you know, photos of them at their darkest point in their life. And just, you know, I think saying that, like, that is, like, you know, that is the business industry wrapped in a bow. Like, that's the dark side of Hollywood right there. And, you know, and then he makes his comeback. And, you know, and the ratings for his show up until this point, you know, they haven't been the best. And, you know, and for a few years now, he's been trying, to make every episode different, to try and, you know, get a different perspective, try and add some entertainment to it, trying to add some energy to it. So, you know, there's like this Viking, stage show that they set up, and, you know, there's always different, you know, little segments that he does, on his little radio show. And, you know, and just so happens with this one that this one is based on Halloween. And so, you know, I guess it's the spooky special of his show. And so he wants to get this doctor and this young girl named Lily on the show, who have who have been in the news recently, trying to promote this book called Conversations with the Devil, which at the time of the show, you know, it hasn't been released, so it's like, you know, it's a bit pre-promotion. Excuse me. And so, you know, once this kicks off, he invites a couple of other people in. There's this guy named Meccano, is it? I don't know. He's only in the movie for a very, short few minutes at the beginning, but it's this guy who can conversate with people beyond the grave. And I have to admit, that guy is the funniest fucker I have seen on screen. Like, I have not laughed that much in a movie in ages. Like, yeah, this guy had me in stitches. But anyway, so when he comes on, like, he comes across as this very kind of fake asshole who's just trying to get people's money. But then towards the end, there's this I guess shock moment, I guess you can call it, where there's this very loud sound frequency going through his head, and it's a reaction that's very raw. It's very real, and then he starts vomiting, all of this black shit up, and and so everybody's wondering, what the fuck is this? Who's who is causing this, or is this guy, the devil incarnate? You know what I mean? So anyways, yeah, he he kind of comes and goes, so he's not a big part of the movie. And then there's this other guy who is the arsehole character. It's a horror movie. It's a horror movie, so we always have to have that arsehole character in here. And he's the one who who doesn't really believe in the supernatural. He doesn't believe in ghosts. So we have that character in here. And then we have the doctor who's actually faced off with the devil and has experienced exorcisms and all that. And I think that's where this film really succeeds for me. It's not even so much the scary sequences in this film that are good to me. What makes this movie good is the conversations, is the disbelief between all four characters. And the way that they are always going at each other's throats. I think that made for some very intense scenes. It makes the dialogue and the character dynamic really, really strong in this movie. Like, holy shit. Like, the tension between the conversations at wanting to kind of prove this point to the audience that ghosts aren't real, supernatural aren't real. And then on the other side here, we have this person who very much does believe in that, in that side of the story. And so it just, it makes for this great, back and forth, and really the entire film is this conversation, for the most part. And just, that's where the film was really, really good to me. Excuse me. And so, from there, we get introduced to the nation's first ever live broadcast of a meeting with the devil, the first confrontation on earth with the devil. And this is where the film kind of, this is where the film really gets, really, I guess, builds a lot of intrigue here, because to me the idea of the doctor communicating with Lily, who's part human, part the devil. And there's this line that was said in the movie where it was like, in the snap of fingers, I can make the devil go back to Lily. Like, it's so simple. And so, that was something that I thought was, that's something I thought was very interesting here. And so, yeah, there's so much in this movie to explore. And I always, thought that was a strange concept. I was like, I feel like, we've seen enough possession movies where once you've actually gone from human to now, satanic monster to something that is, out of your control. Like, I just found that, that there's no way that there's this bond, there's this relationship that's established with these two. But, at the same time, the film surprised me. So, I was going along and, I was very convinced, I was very convinced that, maybe this film was going for more of like a, more of like a stage in time where, it's easier to kind of, break that line. So, and so from there, we get a very impressive gore sequence in this film, and the gore sequence reminded me of a lot of John Carpenter's The Thing, and goddamn it, what was it? Peter Jackson's first ever movie that he made. The name of it is right on the tip of my tongue now. I cannot think of that for the life of me. They Live? No, that's the John Carpenter one. Yeah, but anyways, Peter Jackson's first ever horror movie that he directed. I cannot believe I am blurring on that name now. Like, I bet when I look it up after this review, I'll be like, oh shit, how could I forget that? So, but yeah, just the gore in this film is just. If the film already wasn't a love letter to 70s and 80s horror fans, this sequence is a full-on love letter. Like, it's the filmmaker putting its hands out to you and wanting to hug you. Like, the gore in the film is so immensely, shockingly violent and entertaining, and it's just, it's that old-fashioned gore, and it's just, it's the type of gore where, nowadays, gore, there has to be a specific line of what can be shown, what can't be shown. Like, this was an era where it was just like, it's like fucking, put every bit of gore you can at the screen. Like, there's no restrictions, like MPAA, were a bit easy on it back then. And so, this is kind of going back to, to that time now. And so, just that I loved, this scene, it reminded me, a lot of one scene in particular from The Thing, which I feel like it's an homage in here. So I'll put it that way. I don't want to give too much away. And it's very impressive. There's great practical effects displayed in here as well. So very well done on that end. And there's also a scene in here, once shit does hit the fan, that reminded me of Poltergeist out of all films. It's when you see the film, you will know exactly what I'm talking about, but I'm just being very careful with my words here, there's a character in this film that that shows a different side of them that we haven't seen, and and so that I really liked. That I thought was really cool, homage to Poltergeist there. And and just this is such an interesting film, for people who are filmmakers, who speak about, like, I don't want to kind of take away from the film here, but I do want to touch on this. Like, nowadays with a lot of films, we have directors coming out and saying, oh, fucking, MPAA, fucked me over. Like, they wanted this rating, I wanted this rating, and, and then, there's studio interference of like, oh, you can't have this really gruesome scene, because we said so, because we are assholes, all of that. And I feel like this film just touches on everything that we as horror fans and movie fans in general despise about it. And so, I really kind of liked seeing that face first, like seeing that experience kind of play out. Another thing I really dug in the film is, like, they do such a phenomenal job with the editing in here. Like, it feels like, honestly, the movie feels like 40 minutes, because really what you're watching is an unfinished, unreleased TV episode, that was aired but then was quickly taken off air. And so, I really like the way that this film, is edited, and, there's all the classic, there's all the classic breaks in it, the whole, like, oh, now here's a word from our sponsor, and just, and shit like that, that's in this movie, and, all the different, breaks throughout the film, like, it feels very old school, not only in the film itself, but then also in the editing process. They do such, a good job with the editing in here. And another thing as well, which without going into detail here, is the, what's the way of putting this, is the way reality works in this film, because you never know what's real and what's fake, what's reality, what's not. And just, I always like that. It always kept you engaged at every stage, throughout the film. And, that does play a much bigger part as the film goes on. When you see the film, you will know what I mean. But there's this, there's this fine line between, you questioning as the audience whether what you're seeing, whether this is all staged or whether this is actually happening in front of your eyes. And so, I really liked that and how that was portrayed in this film as well, because I think, a lot of the intensity also does fall under that as well. And, I cannot believe I've been going for 24 minutes. I've not yet brought this up. But the phenomenal doesn't even do it. Masterful writing and directing is superb. Like, there's literally nothing that could have been done better in this film. Like, this Late Night with the Devil is a masterpiece in my eyes. I've yet to see, such a unique spin on the possession genre. Just when I thought to myself that I was getting sick of exorcism movies, and I was getting sick of, possessions, I was getting sick of turning heads and, and bloody, bodies, moving around, and, body parts not being in the area, where there's supposed to be, you know, basic exorcism shit, you know, I really dug just how different that this film was. That this wasn't just another exorcism movie. This was actually an exorcism movie that not only has a lot of layers to its story, but it also has a lot of depth to it, and it has a lot of heart to it, and it has a lot of truth to it. And let me just tell you as well, the twist ending had my mouth drop. Like, as soon as the twist ending happened and the end credits started rolling on this movie, I was like, I have to go watch this movie again. Like, I can honestly not wait till next month when this film comes on Shudder. I'm going to be watching this film again and again and again. I hope a movie like this, with the buzz it's getting, I hope it gets a theatrical release. Because I'm going to be buying this movie day one. Like, this is such a fantastic movie. And, you know, I'm sorry to keep repeating myself here, but this is a film that all of the buzz you're hearing, all of the word of mouth, it earns it. Everybody who worked on this film, going from the terrific, phenomenal, amazing cast and talented cast in this film, to the crew, the behind the scenes, the cinematography, the lighting, the costumes, the set design, the everything. You know, pat yourselves on the back. You know, this is a film, you know, that, you know, the Oscars aren't kind to the horror genre. They always put horror aside, and, you know, and put movies like Barbie and Oppenheimer, you know, front and center, and all of those dramas. So, you know, I really think with a movie like this, you know, I really think it's about time that the Oscars, you know, consider this movie. You know, I really hope that, you know, that by the end of the year, that, you know, that this film still has word of mouth, and just, I want to see this film, even if it's just on like the Fangoria Awards, but just seeing a horror movie get nominated at the Oscars for like best costume design, or even best director, best, like, you know, a horror movie will never win best picture, so, you know, yeah, that's a dream that's already lost there. But, you know, this film, you know, definitely deserves an award for what it's pulled off, and for what it was. I thought this was a very effective and a very creepy film that, you know, that gets under your skin in a lot of ways. So, yeah, you know, I am literally speechless. I did not know how I was going to approach this review, but this is a film that, you know, this weekend you have to go out and watch Late Night with the Devil. So anyways, if you guys have seen Late Night with the Devil, let me know down in the comments section, what did you all think of this movie? And for all those who haven't seen the movie yet, it's in cinemas right now, as well as streaming on Shudder next month. But, you know, what are you doing? Don't wait for this movie. Don't wait for it. Like, you know, there's a cinema near you. Go see it. You know, go see it. Like, this film, you know, this film deserves your money. We never get movies like these. We need to get more movies like these made. So, you know, X was a phenomenal, you know, 70s grindhouse movie, and now this is, you know, definitely is, you know, is probably second place, probably, honestly, maybe first place. You know, X might be taking over that spot there, but, you know, we will see. But anyways, yeah, guys, you know, thank you so much for watching my review. Let's go out and support Late Night with the Devil.